Ramadan, and it's better than being on fraternizing and ha, joking about and this and that. Just go to women one time, quick time. I don't waste your time, whatever. But I just thinking, if we get to know each other for this, maybe I can get your dad's number, or whatever it is.
So he came for a talk on why Islam is true, and he explained really good points for non-Muslims and Muslims alike, and really helped strengthen our iman.
When you shake my hand, you see me, not so lucky. I have to disagree with that actually, I'm only joking. This topic is a very important one because obviously it's part of our outreach as Muslim people. We are here in the West, situated in the West, in the UK for example. Yes, the Muslim community is growing in a way which is more in terms of proportionality to other religions. So if you look at the census data, for example, 2011, and you look at the census data in 2021, you'll find that there's an increase in Muslim people. Even here in Newcastle, I think there's 6% million Muslim people here in Newcastle itself, which is a rise from 10 years ago. But the question is, why is Islam true? Why do we believe in Islam? And basically, I'm going to put the argument to you first and foremost, so you can remember it. The argument I'm going to be putting forward today is simply that, number one, Islam is true because it is the best explanation. It is the best sufficiently reasonable explanation for the question of existence, why we are here. Number one, that's the first reason. And number two, it is the best explanation for the question of what the purpose of life is. Two, what you call ultimate questions, central to any human being's existence. Number one, how did we get here? About our existence. And number two, what are we doing? The point is this, is that we can all agree that I'm here standing in front of you, yeah? The question is, why am I not exploding? What do you mean by that? Why am I not exploding? I'm not talking about the big muscles I have underneath this t-shirt, like the Incredible Hulk, turning green and these kinds of. I'm talking about why am I staying intact? Why are you not exploding? Why am I not turning into other things? The reason why is because there is uniformity in the so-called laws of nature. We assume that there are patterns in nature. What was, is, and is potentially going to be. These are patterns of nature. Certain things happen. This is why I say uniformity. There is uniformity in nature. You cannot even do science without concluding that there's uniformity in nature. In London and other parts in the southwest, we call microscopes. Yes, maybe you've discovered telescope microscopes. Now, if I want to go now to the laboratory and put this chance under the microscope, I want to see what it looks like. Is it empirically verifiable? Is there a chance I can look at? I don't think chance exists like that. So on what basis can you even use the word chance as an atheist, as a materialist, as a physicalist, as whatever it is? Chance doesn't exist. There's no such thing as chance. There's no such thing as coincidence. There's no such thing as randomness. I want to know where it is. If it does exist, show me what it is. What is it an expression of? Random events. We use it in vernacular language, but it just means things I can't explain. For example, if someone came with a yellow t-shirt, comes into this place right now, maybe one of the atheists will say this is quite a random event. It's not really a random event because it has an explanation, which is that he decided to put on a t-shirt for whatever reason, whatever cause it was. There is no such thing as chance. Everything which is contingent has an explanation. So what are you left with here? If there's no such thing as chance, what are you left with here? You're left with that the universe is regular, stable, and uniform. What put it in that place, made it like that? We would say the lawmaker. There is an entity of some sorts. We're not going to put gender to it. We're not going to give attributes to it. We're going to just say another entity which had capability clearly and had level of knowledge allowed that to happen. Your glasses are your worldview. It's a matter of worldview. If your theory of life or your worldview is your materialist, which means that everything for you, okay, is you have to see it through a materialist lens. It has to be empirical, five senses. And if something extraordinary happens to you, you will be forced to interpret it through your worldview. That's what the Quran is saying. You'll find a way to interpret it based on your biases and preferences. If I'm giving you the best arguments a human being can offer, but you just don't want to be a Muslim, frankly, because you know what the entailment is, or you don't want to be whatever it is, you don't want to be more practicing, or you don't want to submit to the conservative or orthodox version of Islam, true Islam, then, once again, is it because your worldviews are tainting your processing? So what I'm saying to you is this. What I'm saying to you is that until we take off our glasses and become sincere, psychological, from a psychological perspective, we actually want to find the truth. We don't mind where the truth comes from. Then we will never find the truth, even if the truth is presented right. Regularity, stability. He's the author of this book. He's meant to know the past, present, and the future. Then why is it that we find so many mistakes in the Bible, in the Old Testament, and in all these things? Contradictions, predictions which don't come to be true. The only explanation is that the word of man has been inserted into it. And that, funny enough, is what Origin of Alexandria is. Not interesting, but one of the first 300-400 years, you can call them ecumenical church writers. He wrote that. He said that this is something which the word of man has come into it. He admitted that the Bible has been corrupted. And now almost every major scholar has to admit that. There's been an interpolation of some sort. The word of man has entered the biblical text. So what I'm saying to you is as follows. When you look at the weight of the evidence, I actually believe if anyone is actually sincere in their quest to finding truth, they'll find Islam. Let me put it this way, right? Right now I'm wearing glasses, as you can see, yeah? Now, the truth of the matter is my postulation is, I claim that everyone is biased. We say we're not biased, we're neutral, we're objective, we're scholarly, we're academic. If you're an atheist, you're biased. If you're a Muslim, you're biased. If you're a Christian, you're biased. If you're a feminist, you're biased. If you're a red pill, you're biased. If whatever you are biased, some way or shape or form. Whatever historical epoch, whatever world you live in, you have some...
I just wanted to ask a question about, like, how would you go about meeting a potential spouse? Is there like in the correct Islamic way? Because obviously there's a lot of different ways people do it nowadays. But like, in your opinion, what would be the Islamic way to do it in this? You know,
So this is not, it looks like this is a question everyone was ready. She's more than welcome. I don't think there's anything haram about it. It's better than being and fraternizing and ha joking about and this and that. Just go to a woman one time, quick time. It will take you 180 seconds. You say, so listen, I don't waste your time, whatever. I just thinking, if we could get to know each other for this, maybe I can get your dad's number, or whatever it is. Or maybe I can talk to her. And then she says yes, and she says no. I said, okay, fine. Whatever it may be, but just go straight into it. Go straight into it, why not? I think that's how you do it. You can either do it through an app, you can do it through an intermediary, or you can go the cold approach and go directly and face the person and ask them. So there you go. But it will build your confidence. There's advantages of it, and you have to do it to many females because the first one is likely not to say yes. The first one will say no, and then he goes to the next one. She says no, and then goes to the next one. Yes, relevant here. But in the New Testament corpus, for example. So what we have here is, yes, we agree with the fact that Jesus Christ lived. He's, for example, mentioned in the Talmud of the Jews. But in the same Talmud of the Jews, this incident of the crucifixion is actually narrated completely differently. It said that the figure of Jesus Christ was stoned. Now, I'm not saying I agree with that particular notion, but already this casts aspersion that there is some kind of historical consensus about what happened to the figure of Jesus Christ at his time. Because if the Talmud, which is a Jewish source, is saying that he was stoned, already there's a question here, is what happened to Jesus at that time? The fact that actually there are some early Christian sources who believed in substitution theory, like Simon of Cyrene, for example, who believed that he was a Gnostic. Obviously, Christians would say the Gnostics are they are not orthodox, they are a heretical group. But we don't care about that, which is another matter of heterodoxy. So we don't look at, okay, this group, the Christians of today don't agree with them, therefore we're going to disband and disagree with them. The historical critical method doesn't look at it like that at all, in fact. If you go to a historian here in the prestigious University of Newcastle and say, if you look at it purely in a neutral academic fashion, do we care or do we not care about the fact that these early Gnostics who existed mostly before, and their documents were there even before most of the church fathers were there. People from Ignatius, from Justin the Martyr, all the way up until, what's his name then? Augustine, in the 4th century. He wrote De Trinitatis, about a book on the Trinity. All those individuals came after the Gnostics, so they were further away from the source. So the Gnostic texts, for example, in the first 100 years of Christianity, there are some mentions of substitution theory, which is that he was substituted on the cross, that someone else died in his place. Now this is a possibility for us, and in fact, it's an exegetical point that is made by some Islamic scholars when they say, well, first of all, the doctrine of ascension is a commonality between Islam and Christianity. There are clear Bible verses that talk about Jesus being ascended to the right hand of God. So it actually has become a doctrine that's referred to in many of the. So ascension is not something unremarkable in the Christian teaching, you see. So ascension is not something which is a Muslim-only endeavor. Christians believe, or have to believe, in ascension as well. When did he get ascended, or did he get ascended instead of being crucified? Probably that's what you're talking about. Let's start with the existence of Jesus. Obviously we agree with existence, and most historical figures do, even the secular ones, because there's enough ample evidence of his existence even outside of the 10 AD, I should say, AD, so it's about 15 years between him and the last Bible writer, saying that Jesus was substituted. Now you say he's a heresy. I don't care if you consider him to be heretical. You consider the Jews to be heretical, fine, whatever. But they're historians at the end of the day. They're talking about something that they believe happened. So there is no consensus. So what is consensus is that it's unanimous conclusion by historians in a particular time. There is actually no consensus that he was crucified at all. And in fact, if there was consensus, then the historian who claims there is a consensus must explain why the Jews in the Talmud, various writers of them, by the way, and the Gnostics in the first 100 years talked about substitution theory in the first place. But even for the sake of argument, we say, fine, let's take a look at just the New Testament because we want to be hardcore evangelical type Christian, and we don't accept any source except for the New Testament, fine, for the sake of argument. Even then, you take a look at the crucifixion story, and I'm not going to do it now because it will take time from the audience. Take a look at the contradictions that lie in the observations of the crucifixion. This testimony said that how many witnesses